Hey, this is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and filmintuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen. Okay.
This is your show, mate. You just tell me whatever you want.
I am
dance.
flexible. I'm always thrilled.
You just say dance, monkey dance, and I'll be ready.
Blake, it is an honor to have you back. Blake Howard is one of the best people I know, producer of One Heat Minute Productions, incredible podcasts. You remember One Heat Minute, of course. He's done pods on Zodiac, All the President's Men, Insider, everything. If you love the movie, Blake probably, if you have good taste, Blake has probably covered it. Yes. So I am thrilled to have you back. You're one of my longtime buddies. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, and that was too nice. All this honored and whatever. You're like my big sister. I love you. Thank you. Of course I love talking to you. And yes, whenever you say all those nice things and people are like, and Blake's probably covered it. I know what it feels like to cover something that we do, and I'm like, oh God, it's hard. I'm tired. No, but it's great to talk to you. I love your show. I love the people that you do it with, and I love your conversations. It's a really nice vacation in the nicest possible way, because I know that you are so deeply researched, and we have this same process together. So, but yeah, also Jen and I collaborated on a show together called Midnight Run Through, where we unpack the entirety of Midnight Run. So that's also there. But yeah, man, I'm good. My kids are getting older, which means that they're busier, which means that my diary is more full, which means they're really eaten into my movie watching time.
Yeah.
It's not,
not as easy.
It's not as easy. And this week, like I have planned to go see Spider-Man Brand New Day on the day it opens because my son wants to see it, which is
okay.
This is new, a movie's coming out and I'm getting harassed to go see it, and it's not, it for me, which is really kind of cool. This is like a nice place to be in.
Yeah, exactly. I love that personalities are emerging and they know what they like, and that'll evolve. And as he gets older, I'm sure you're going to introduce him to Michael Mann, and everybody wins. Yeah.
The Michael Mann shelf in my office. The Michael Mann shelf in chronological order. Just like, all right, kid, here we do. Let's do this thing. Let's start all the way back at Jericho Mile, and let's get some watching.
Do this the right way. Yes.
Now we're in the kind of Star Wars, kind of like the Star Wars Spider-Man. I just started watching Masters of the Universe, the new Masters of the Universe movie with him because it's on Prime. I didn't get to catch it in a theater. He seems to be really enjoying it, and the great thing is, I mean, it's his first movie where he gets to implicitly hate Jared Leto without seeing him really on screen.
Everybody needs that, right?
You just need to get in the gate. He's a few years away from Fight Club, and then he'll really learn about it. But no, it's really fun. My daughter, on the other hand, is just still a movie watching sweetie pie.
Aww.
Still likes watching like cute stuff, cartoons and things like that. Any more like extreme she's not into, it's just kind of adorable, but yeah. But that's my life. Family's good. My beautiful wife is great.
Just really,
really, really busy. But I'm very excited to talk to you about this because we'd been talking about a way for us to talk about two of our favorite filmmakers.
I know, because one of the episodes we did, that was one of my favorite conversations, is we talked about Peter Weir, and I had the best time. And so I really do like diving into filmmakers with you. I think we did Pakula, maybe. I can't remember. We've done so many.
We've done a couple.
Always been great. And so this was a good idea you had, kind of like two from the 70s that one of them people love, but they don't get discussed as much. So we're talking about Lumet's Serpico, even though he was like second director from John G. Avildsen started it, the whole thing. And then French Connection 2, first one was by Friedkin, and this is Frankenheimer. So
yes.
Yeah. So the boys. Yeah.
The boys. Well, these two are so fun because, like, they both actually, Frankenheimer came up underneath Lumet, if you like, hierarchically in Playhouse 90, which is live television. And both of them directed something, I think Lumet's was somewhere around 140, 50 live television half hours. And Frankenheimer's was sort of in the hundreds as well, which is crazy to think of what that's like. And they both came out of those moments, both very kind of directors of that era, those first like real working filmmakers who kind of journeymen, just did different things, all different genres, different paychecks, had their own stylistic preoccupations, but were kind of reliable hands to get things done all throughout their careers. But I wanted to talk about them both because I love them both, but like the benefit or the sometimes pain that people have with people who have really long careers is that like they like a segment of it and they're like, bin the rest. And I just don't prescribe to that view on artists myself.
No, I am with you. And it's interesting because I had Sean Cosby on a few years ago and we covered Pacino in the 70s or early, because it's kind of our favorite Pacino's, talking about different eras, but you gotta love all of Al. And that's kind of like these filmmakers too. I agree.
If you love him as Serpico, you've got to love the 80-year-old man with a Shrek 2 phone case. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't love that guy, you've got to love that guy. That's their whole life.
I know. It's the vibe. I love how he was amused by Frank Serpico in real life, kind of the way we are very amused by Pacino and his Shrek phone case. Like he tells the story of being at a rented beach house and having Serpico over, and finally he's like, "Why did you do it?" And he said, "Because I don't know who I would be when I listen to music if I didn't." And Pacino, what an answer, and he's like, that's the kind of guy he was. And it's like, that's kind of you are too. So it's fitting. Yeah.
It's also, a couple of years ago, I was lucky enough to go see, it was at the New York Film Festival. They were celebrating Heat. It was actually meant to be, Mann, Pacino, De Niro, and Art Linson on a panel moderated by our great friend Bill Gabiri.
Yes, the best.
Mann unfortunately got stuck in Italy because he got COVID, so he was unable to travel. So it ended up being Art Linson, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. And Al Pacino to this day, like, I remember sitting in the crowd. I was sitting next to our beautiful friend Jordan Harper. We were sitting together. We were watching Bilga. The crowd was full of friendlies. And I looked like down towards the front and Pacino still had like age appropriate. These ladies are like 40s and 50s, but like groupies who like every time he said something, they wildly cheered and like went crazy. Yeah. And I was like, man, like this guy just makes people crazy in the like, cause he's kind of got that energy. So yeah, he's a fascinating guy, but like right now, like, when you're talking about just like the leads, both Hackman and Pacino undeniably considered two of the greatest actors ever.
For sure.
Right in this corridor, making some of the best movies they would make. They both had different ups and downs in their career where they kind of were like just working actors and they seemed like they were just sort of leaning on their own stuff. But I think that particularly with Hackman, after his unfortunate death, like lots of people went back and like watched a bunch of Hackman and were just like, he was always good. Like, I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, Bonnie and Clyde, everything. Guy was always there.
Yeah. The blind guy from Young Frankenstein. Like, that's like, I mean, like, he could do anything. Like, it's not just Popeye Doyle. It's that kind of ridiculousness all the way up to Tenenbaums. Like, he was amazing. So yeah, I found that the synergy between these two directors coming together, they are two of my favorites. They have long careers that went really long. If you look throughout their career, obviously there's early parts of their career which are like incredibly prolific and hugely both critically and commercially successful, and then they kind of wane because the cinematic landscape is changing. and then they also have these, you know, late period pop-ups. But I always found that because of that kind of Playhouse 90 relationship, there were very much two completely different expressions of learning basically on the fly how to do anything you could ever want to do as a director.
Yeah,
Like,
Robert Altman was the same way. Yep.
Yeah.
That same school. Mm-hmm.
Same school, like composing shots,
Yep.
like very little or trying to rehearse and stage things in certain ways, pace, like visual invention, like trying to alleviate boredom in your practice. And personally, like on a much, I don't know, different or weird scale is like, I find that now with podcasting, like when I ever am tackling a project, one of the first things I'm thinking about is like, how am I expressing myself using the tools that I have in a slightly different way that works perfectly for the thing that I'm talking about. And so I think that that's where I look at these guys as huge idols of, look at the way that they found how to express themselves. And even, you know, Lumet much more classically in Serpico, which we can talk about. But like Frankenheimer, while Friedkin's French Connection, I'm not going to argue I'm not going to be that person that's like, French Connection too, actually. No, I'm sorry. Like, French Connection is a masterpiece and is undeniable. But, you know, the visual inventiveness, the use of the camera, like the content of the movie, the pace, like everything that he does in this movie just is so fascinating to me and is so like really ahead of its time, especially with POV camera work. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I love these two guys, and I think they've got a beautiful series of entanglements that I think that we're using one example, but there are definitely plenty of others where you could go and grab two other films out of their career, circle them around the same time and be like, these are two more movies of theirs that are completely in conversation.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Most people think about these filmmakers and just solely look at them as big screen directors and forget like where they started out. And recently I did an episode with Barbara Vandenberg on Spielberg. And of course he directed an episode, I think it was the pilot of Night Gallery, and they called it like Baptism by Fire. He was supposed to direct Joan Crawford in his like early 20s, 21, 22-ish.
Jeez.
Can you imagine? And so like dealing with the egos, figuring out shots like they did, learn on the fly. And then when you made something like Serpico, which was shot in, I think, June and July, 2 months, like to get it done really quickly, and they had to shoot for winter. So the actors were really sweaty and they had to put stuff all over them. And also they had to shoot it in reverse because of how complicated it is with the facial hair. Nobody's ever looked hotter in a movie than Pacino in Serpico, even though he's like dressed like a Pink Panther villain, basically. Like some of the outfits are just hideous. Like walking around with like a butcher's outfit on, I don't know. And
okay, now you've got me Googling Al Pacino Serpico drip. I just want to see if someone has someone has like collected.
There is
some of the
one
looks.
now. If you go to my Blue Sky, Barbara Vandenberg actually replied with like, check out these fits are insane. Like, because they are the craziest.
The fish ring is nuts. The fish kinky ring is nuts. That is so good.
Yeah.
Wow. God.
Yes.
Beanies and hats galore. I feel like he's a man after my own heart. With the beard.
I know.
I could never get that hair that long though. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's the wildest. Yeah. And some woman was immediately like, uh-oh, are we going to get back in the fight of like, who's better, De Niro and Pacino? And it's like, De Niro was my first crush, but I will be the first to tell you Pacino's prettier. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's be honest.
De Niro's handsome.
Exactly.
And Al Pacino as Serpico with his pinky ring fish is golden fish that how is that practical? Anyway, man, there's some looks. Frank Serpico outfits here. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there is actually an article on Vulture.
I bet.
How good. Vulture doing the great work by Chris Stanton from some time ago. The article is called Serpico Outfits Ranked.
That's hilarious.
The best
Somebody
Serpico outfits
like
ranked.
in fashion school going to do their thesis on the outfits of Serpico, basically.
Hell yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
no, it's amazing. And the movie itself, I think I've only seen a handful of times, but the most vivid things that were in my memory were the scene on the roof when he's playing opera and, meets his neighbor. I love that moment. And of course, the beginning of the movie, which I think is just crazily intense. It's very Lumet, very like cinema verite. You're with him and he's been shot on the job. And then they cut to, oh my God, Serpico's been shot. I know 6 guys who would have done it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing and dark and bleak. And yeah, so those were the most vivid things for me. Oh, and the dog,
I,
of course.
and the,
Yes.
I, Serpico is one of the ones in this corridor of Pacino that I have probably watched the least. And that's not to say that I don't like it
I
or that
agree
I
with
don't think
you.
it's great.
Maybe Bobby
But
Deerfield is like the worst, but
Bobby
yeah,
Deerfield's is, yeah,
that's its own thing.
but Bobby Deerfield's such a curio that it's like, I could feel like I could watch it more because I don't get it. Like, are you watching? Like, I still don't understand it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit wackadoo, but you got this period, so like Panic in Needle Park, Godfather,
Yep.
Scarecrow, Serpico, Godfather Part 2, Dog Day, and then
Straw Dogs, was that around? Oh no,
yeah,
that was,
Hoffman's,
Hoffman. Yes,
no, and Justice for All, Cruising,
that's
Scarface.
right.
So we're flying. The only reason that I say that I don't necessarily watch Serpico as much is because it's hard because it's about isolation. Ultimately, it's like
It
being,
is,
and it's
yeah.
about morality, and while it's like really good, I feel like more so than anything, it's one to really savor because I don't know, it's such a pièce de résistance performance. Like, it's so big and so
Yeah.
huge, and I don't mean huge in the way that has come later in Pacino's career for people to talk about him acting huge, but just like, it's such a huge performance. It's so particular. It's so specific. He's doing so much, and he's completely the sore thumb in this institutional corruption.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a different lens on that kind of paranoia post Watergate,
It really is.
institutional corruption. And it makes it really personal, which sometimes in those ways where you watch like All the President's Men, which I know that we both love, when you watch that, it's like you've got like a pair of people and a team that are trying to conquer it, whereas he's alone. Like,
yeah, it's isolated. He's way more high strung, like together. I feel like
yes.
Hoffman and Redford are able to kind of balance each other out because,
well, Hoffman's hitting on women and
yeah, I mean,
Redford's
there's a whole
Redford.
thing. And our good friend Sean Burns the other day I was talking to, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this with Blake," and he goes, "Okay, what he did was important, Serpico, but my God, is he like a scold?" Like, he was just talking about his character. He gets obnoxious, like, enough. Yeah, we know they're bad, like, enough. And he said, but Al loves that. And that's true.
He's in it. So it is like an endurance test of that, like, we know people in our lives, and these are great people who they have a very strong sense of their own integrity and their own worth. And like, in the profession that you and I have, I feel like we're kind of outsiders, but like in the profession that we've dabbled in, like film criticism and stuff like that, there are these people who by virtue of survival, bounce between different institutions, bounce between different publications, bounce between different kinds of or wrinkles of the gig, whether you go into television criticism, film criticism, interviews, whatever the case may be. And then there are even just certain people in our like very microcosmic way who, and it can be in any job. It's like you're working in a job and you have a crap boss and they do things. Some people are just like, will accept environmentally that there are these kind of weird corruptive forces that are happening, or you could be in like film criticism and like you don't necessarily agree with someone's politics or their morality or whatever, but there's a lot that one can overlook for your own paycheck. Like there's a lot that you can do.
Yeah.
And even in like the smallest way. And there's some people that we know, like one of our friends, Walter Chaw, who is like, I think the most stoutly moral person I think we've both collectively ever met. And that the amount of admiration I have for someone to just say no, like I'm not doing this, like forgetting everything else is like, I'm not doing that. I don't care about that opportunity because I don't agree with that. On even that microcosmic level, you're like, wow, that's like super impressive. So to be in an occupied city, that's what it feels like in New York. And that's what's so brilliant about Lumet's direction of New York in this. It's like you're in an occupied city. You're in a stronghold of like an apartment and a building on a rooftop. Like you're surrounded. Like there's a reason that John Carpenter made Escape from New York where the entire city is a prison. Like it can feel like that. And especially in like winters, and it feels oppressive. And though there's so many people, you feel like you're just occupying your cell in this wide prison. And so it's not like a fun hang. Like you don't get to go and see Michael tell stories about, Luca Brasi and, those sorts of things at the time, or like doing his probably one of the great performances all time in like Godfather Part 2, or the showiness of Dog Day Afternoon, which is a complete masterpiece.
I love that.
Like it's not that. But it's brilliant. It's again just another Lumet, incredible Lumet directing, a piece of work that's in his career.
It is. Yeah. I got a little emotional watching it last night because I remembered, I think I'll go with Paco because obviously he goes by Paco in the movie, but, somebody, I grew up around a lot of cops in the neighborhood and relatives, and there was somebody in my life, we'll call him Paco, who was a great guy. He was a Marine, came back, became a police officer in a city where it's kind of in northern, of our state, in a different state, and it was corrupt. And he didn't play the game. He was very ballsy and, his way or the highway. And he would give tickets to city officials if, there was domestics or whatever. He didn't let anything fly. Like, he was getting in the way.
Didn't let anything slide.
No. And they were telling him like, don't do it. You have to look the other way. You have to play the game. And he just refused and pissed off the wrong people and was set up for a really bizarre crime. Like, it doesn't really make sense. They even like took pictures to prove no, it couldn't have actually happened. And they kind of gave him an option of like, well, you can leave quietly or you can fight it. And he fought it, and it was in the court with the officials and the judges. And so he went down for a few years and couldn't be on the force after that. He wound up moving to Hawaii, and he was like a teacher. I don't know if his record was, if it was forgiven or what happened with that. He's no longer with us. Or if maybe because he was a teacher in college, he was able to do it because of, I'm not sure. But yeah, I remember what that was like. I remember the trial. I remember his wife coming over, like when I was just there, and my mom to like give my mom weapons, that he had in the house because, it was a lot of stress, a lot of like despair, like please hide these in your house. And so we did a Goodfellas thing. We hid his weapons for his safety. We didn't tell his kids, they were much younger than me, where he was, like for 2 years. I think it was 2 years. We just, oh yeah, he's working on a job and it's okay. And he's out of town on work. And I do not know to this day if they ever really found out where their dad was. So watching it now, and like I was watching it with my mom, and so I started talking to her about Paco, and she had all of these memories that I didn't know about. And so it's like this stuff goes on. I didn't read Peter Moss's Serpico, but I read the Valachi papers and Underboss, Sammy the Bull, Gravano. But what's interesting is Dino De Laurentiis came over from Italy, produced Valachi and produced this, and he said no American producer had the balls to do anything to make the cops look corrupt. And it was like a big thing. A lot of studios did not want to do this. And so we always knew there was corruption and stuff, and people look the other way. Like in my case with Paco, that was in the early 90s, and which was kind of the height of, in a totally different city, Rodney King was happening. I mean, we were aware of some of these scandals, and New York had been, in the 80s, lots of scandals. So It's interesting watching this. It's like things have changed and things have kind of stayed the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever Jen and I talk, and Jen's like, "Yeah, I have this memory," she like
It
drops
goes
a
totally
story.
bizarre.
It drops a story that I'm just like, "Wow, yeah." Like, look, I think New York and Los Angeles as the two kind of population hubs on the east and west coast, Chicago being the kind of center point.
Yeah.
All of those huge population hubs all have stories about police corruption.
Yeah,
And it's just because
exactly.
of the nature of huge populations, these kind of militarized police groups, and
Mm-hmm.
it even still happens in small ways today. You guys have stranger, and I say stranger because I'm from Australia, you guys have stranger hierarchies around like sheriff's departments and stuff like that. And if you talk to our friend Jordan
Mm-hmm.
Harper, there are these sheriff department like groups in LA that are actually considered gangs. Like they have
There's
initiations.
one in Phoenix too,
Yeah.
where it's like, I don't know if I told you this story. I think I told Jordan and he started Googling. He's like, oh my God, that's amazing. I need to use that.
Getting my pen right now.
Phoenix police had this thing and they actually, I think they gave commemorative coins to each other. And it was, they got points whenever they shot somebody in the junk. I'm serious. That's actually a thing that happened. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm putting that on a post-it note for later. But what I'm going
Yeah.
to say is,
Put a pin in that.
put a pin in that. No, I'm going to do some Googling later. What I mean to say is that like police corruption comes in these
Yeah.
situations where people have authority and you have to rely on the trust and the goodwill. And the conflict is that in these massive cities, you obviously have a bigger criminal interests who have more either A, influence, and B, money, or both.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have those sorts of things, they want to let it fly. And so then what happens, just like in any job, you know, if you work at a KFC, you know, and you close the shop at the end of the night and there's leftover chicken, it's kind of implied like, hey, take some chicken home to you and your family. Like go and eat, like if there's some leftover food, or to take to some friends, or whatever the case may be. There's kind of benefits that come with every job. Unfortunately, in law enforcement and those sorts of things, the fringe benefits that they have are to look the other way with a parking ticket and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to be as strict on each other and hold each other to the same standards. But you can see it in, I think, during this time of massive institutional corruption, whether it's globally or specifically nationally for America, you can start to see the big institutions and the big players in these big towns, whether, you know, looking back with Untouchables later that De Palma does, or you're looking at, you know, the much later with the Rodney King stuff and Rampart division that all happens in LA, or you're looking over here. And even in the Altman stuff, like he is pretty much like the LAPD sucks right from the outset, which is probably accurate in many instances, despite my favorite movie being Heat. But like, though all of those things where they're communicating with each other, they're just talking about the big cities, but in their own little parochial, unique ways in those other states. Like there are the same things, like a small town. A small town or a smaller community. Like if there's one police station and they're kind of corrupt, there's no one looking at how that works. And so you can definitely see it pop up because there's less oversight. And now we're kind of a little bit luckier because with things like in Australia, we have like independent commissions for corruption against, and so like institutions, especially local government institutions that have corruption, it runs rampant. It's like one bad person gets into a position, or one group of a couple of people get into a position, then they're starting to like, you know, exploit government spending and money and like give their friends contracts to things. And it can happen everywhere. It's like as soon as someone gets that little bit of power and they feel like that there's no oversight on what they're doing until an independent commission comes in, or a journalist or something that starts to like poke at something and go, wait, this doesn't make sense. you can see it
Yeah.
everywhere. And so I think with
That's
Serpico,
really
it's like,
good to have independent commissions. Yeah, because the FBI did investigate. I want to say there was a report that came out like 2010 to 2012-ish, where they were finding that the next problem was going to be a high number of white supremacy, like-minded people were infiltrating. They said police departments, sheriff's
yeah,
departments. And so the FBI had been like beating the drum on this, the white nationalists. I think that's the better way to say it. And I don't know that anything was really done about it. And so I like that at least you guys have an independent commission and stuff. That's important.
yeah, it is, and getting tip-offs of different kinds of corruption is their
Yeah.
bag. But also, like, you got to think of like Black Klansman. Like it
Yeah.
can also, like, amazing movie set in 1972, but it's like that sort of same thing. There's always whenever
Yeah.
there's power and
Mm-hmm.
whenever there's power, and especially different levels of oversight or things can sort of slip under the radar. That's where they're like a puddle of stagnant water, like things start to grow and nastiness starts to come from these places because there's no cross-pollination of other institutions. There's no oversight, and these things just start to develop. And it seems weird that in 2026 it still happens, but it's so true.
Yes. And then we jump over to French Connection 2, and we have Papa Doyle being used as bait. Essentially, he goes over to France, which Burns was talking the other day. He's like, how much do you love Hackman walking around not speaking any French and just being an asshole? Yeah.
He's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Firstly, Popeye Doyle is just nakedly the worst American tourist of all time.
Oh
just
my
walking
gosh.
around,
Yes.
speaking louder, doing
Yeah.
that thing, read my lips, I want a Hershey bar.
Talking about Mickey Mantle too much.
Talking about baseball, trying to like do those things, sing different songs,
Yeah.
like trying to pick up girls. It's beautiful. It's beautiful how he just like wanders around doing all of that. The thing that I forgot about French Connection 2 is that, like, obviously the conclusion of French Connection, there are multiple cops that are involved that are allowing that have been allowing our main man Charnier that Popeye Doyle is hunting down, who's played by Fernando Rey,
who I love. Yeah.
He's great.
They walked across the street from Serpico. It's the same cops, you guys. Yeah.
It's pretty much the same cops.
Yeah, it's New York.
Like there are a couple of cops that are corrupt there that end up dying under Popeye Doyle's hand because they're protecting Charnier's operation.
Mm-hmm.
And so the conclusion of that movie is that he just gets away, and it's that perfect 70s bleak ending of, like, after everything, Popeye essentially discovers that it's the police department themselves that are actually responsible for allowing this guy to run unabated, and all of his sort of craziness and almost like vigilante impulses are warranted because he knows that if he tries to step in line with these people, they're just going to tip him off. And the entire premise of the movie, French Connection 2, which we'll get to, and you can understand why people maybe didn't jive with it, is like, send Popeye Doyle to France, to Marseille, to this guy's home turf, and hopefully he'll die. And at the very least, if he doesn't, and at the very, and it's the very same corrupt cops that are like, go over there. And it's very early in the movie that's kind of where it comes from. And it's like, oh yeah, hopefully he'll die. That would be great. And then after that, they do something even worse, which is that they capture him and enslave him and make him addicted to the very smack that he's been trying to keep off the streets.
It's devastating. It's so gritty and grisly. It's hard to watch. Yeah.
It's incredibly hard to watch. And I was trying to think, like, pre-Trainspotting, had there ever been a movie that was this ballsy? Like, this thing's made in 1975.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't quite see needles going into skin, but you certainly see, like, cooking up heroin and then, like, putting it into him and then watching the effects and watching how disgusting his arm looks, watching the effects of withdrawals, watching how he has to rebuild his whole body because he's just completely shattered. And like, the extent of it is, you know, once you've built up to this kind of legendary idea of what Popeye Doyle is, even though he's a kind of blowhard who's wonderful and, like, refuses to speak French, I think that's what really gets me in this movie, is that like it spends such a long time with like him sticking out like a sore thumb and just basically almost begging Charnier's people to see him, to catch his eye, and then finally when he does, it's sort of all over Red Rover. But then like their choice of not to kill him, not to torture him, but to torture him with that thing and watch him completely broken down to build himself back up is, I think, one of the, it's kind of an extremely satisfying and thoughtful way to do it, even though it's like really confronting.
Yeah.
And I love that about it, watching it after not watching it for a while. I kind of forget. And then you watch it and you're like, wow, this is really how you bring a character back down to rock bottom. You get him addicted to this very stuff that he's trying to keep off the street.
I know, it's totally devastating. And I had not seen it since I reviewed like both films, I want to say like 2010, around there. And what's interesting is you mentioned Train Spotting, and I remember when that came out, I've had 5 spine surgeries, and you heal in the hospital with one of those morphine pumps with the button.
Yeah.
Where you keep pushing it, and it won't give you too much or anything, but it's so painful that you have that. And even though you're in a hospital after, you still do go through pretty intense withdrawal. So the first time that happened, I went home, and my poor mom, who knows I love movies, had heard of a movie called Train Spotting and went to the video store and I didn't have the heart to tell her, and I didn't really know what it contained. I just knew the plot. And so that was literally the first movie I saw after my first spine surgery. And like, by the time we get to the baby on the ceiling, it's like, what the, like, I didn't have the heart to tell her, like, you traumatized me. Yeah.
Mom, firstly, you traumatized me. Secondly, like, why did you bring all this tinned tomato soup and a bucket?
Yeah.
Like, did you watch it before you gave it to me? Yeah. Oh my God, Jen. Must, especially when you're in recovery and you're still very tender going through that kind of withdrawal. It's like crazy. That's why
it's so hard to see. And like, especially because they know if they put him in a hospital, it would go in a chart. Like, this guy's addicted to heroin, and then he wouldn't be able to be a cop if he ever makes it alive back out to America. Yeah. So it's just like, oh my God. Mm-hmm.
And also, like, French Connection is defined by some of the coolest car chases that were ever committed to film. And the final chase of this movie is like a foot race between...
Yes! I think Frankenheimer was like, you know what? We're not going to top that for that. No.
I can't top it. I can't top it. And it's like racing a tram and then racing a boat that's moving very slowly with Gene Hackman. It's fun. Like, I actually was smiling the whole time going like, hey, Frankenheimer's having a ball making this for sure.
Yeah.
Friedkin probably hates Billy Friedkin. I was going to look up like what Billy Friedkin.
He never watched it, I guess.
Yeah.
He just refused. But yeah, it would have been interesting to see those two directors in a room. Did they talk about it? Like what went down after? But again, when we're talking about sartorial choices, Gene Hackman wearing like, he would be a douchebag today or a hipster, but he's wearing like total tourist wear. He's running around in dress shoes, a jacket or a trench coat. I saw that at one point. And like, palm tree shirts that are bright and big and very 70s. And,
palm tree shirt, leather jacket, tight pants, dress shoes, and his hat.
Oh yeah, a fedora walking around. It is like,
so
can you imagine like an Adam Driver kind of character walking around like that? It'd be, you just walk over and slap him pretty much. Yeah.
There's so few people who look like him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so few people who look like Hackman. He kind of was burly. He was working class. He made everything look like, nothing ever looks polished on him. Nothing ever looks like it's the first time he's worn it. Like, it's such a masterful stroke. It's like nothing ever looks
agree.
Everything looks beat up. So there's a kind of, it's like if he was shopping today, this is the pure hipster of it all. Like, he'd be going to thrift stores or like, charity, like, used clothing stores and buying stuff that look like beat up from the jump. Like, whether it is, dress pants or shoes or a leather jacket or a Hawaiian shirt. It's like something that has been worn and battered and bruised, if you like. And the only things that kind of like look clean moderately is just like a double breast pocket, office shirt that he has to wear. That's the only thing. But he just, they're some of my favorite scenes of the movie, of just watching Popeye Doyle stick out like a sore thumb walking around this place. I really like it.
Yeah, that's basically the plot. Like,
Yes.
and that was a problem with Serpico too. For the longest time, like Pacino's like, there's no plot. So he almost went and did Lenny. He was thinking about, doing that, and then Hoffman did it. But, and Serpico, the real guy, was like annoyed. He wasn't heroic enough in an early draft, and that's the thing. But it's kind of like him just sort of being there. And that's exactly what French Connection 2 is. I mean, I feel like they did a much better job in Serpico of filling that out with stuff, but it is kind of plot as character, and character is plot. Yeah.
It's really hard though, because like, at least in Serpico, when he's alone, even if he does encounter people, like, he's speaking English to other people. Like, the thing is, like Popeye's not talking to anyone. Like, he doesn't have a friend. Like, he doesn't want.
He tries to befriend the bartender, and it's so sad.
Yeah. The bartender is like, wouldn't it be nice if, like, even in some of those moments that he sees a bartender, he's there.
Yeah.
He interacts with a girl playing beach volleyball, and like, he's like, the end of the night, he clearly takes her out for a couple of drinks. He probably like fumbles through communicating with her. He's like, "Oh, see you later." There's the two guys who follow him. At
Zacco and Vanzetti, which he kept calling them.
Call them Zacco and Vanzetti. They were Bernard Bresson, who plays Barthélemy, who he calls like Bartlemy or whatever he calls him, but he's like Barthélemy, played by Bernard Bresson, who like they follow him, but there's no satisfaction that they have any kind of relationship. So that kind of wandering, it gets to be kind of free in a way that, like, if you were making this movie today, you're like, there's no way that it could have more than an hour and 20-minute runtime. You're like,
I agree with you. Mm-hmm.
Like, there's like 40 minutes of contemplation, like him quietly eating a chocolate. And then taking like 10 minutes to get a gun that he's hidden in his suitcase out. And then
telling a story completely, externally, and it goes on for like 8 minutes. Yeah.
And or like attempting to intimidate someone in interrogation, and they have no clue who he is, and there's no translator. So when he starts that scene, I always forget that there's no translator there. He's like this, and I imagine like a shocked translator looking at him and then, he's laughing at what Hackman looks like and expecting the translator to come over the top and then suddenly be shocked and have that chemistry. And it's just like, no one understands him. Everyone thinks he's an idiot. He's completely out of place. And the whole theme of the movie is like, he has just been sent there to die. He is an inconvenience. He's going to disrupt some kind of international operation. And it has these great threads of like, no international crime organization operates without some kind of entanglement or corruption or some hooks into different established institutions or very fallible individuals. Like he's talking to someone and it looks like an American it's an American serviceman with medals, and then he's like talking to someone else and it's a really ritzy party, and then he's talking to someone else and it's like, an international shipping corporation. Like, things are entangled, and he doesn't connect the dots. You can tell why Michael Mann likes Frankenheimer, why Guillermo del Toro likes Frankenheimer. He's like, he likes to paint these pictures, but he doesn't have to, he doesn't kind of fill in the lines. He doesn't like articulate all the shapes.
That's what Grand Prix is too. It's very,
He just sort of puts it out there and lets you sort of try and chew on it a little bit. But I do appreciate that in this movie, that like, if you were thinking about how it could have been leaner, it's like, it's trying to give, it's taking some of these more contemplative moments of Hackman being alone in this new city and shooting Marseille like it's New York in the 1970s, in a really beautiful and sort of alike way, despite its seaside nature. And yet just holding firm on, he will have no connections. He will have nothing. Even like the old woman who steals his watch. I'm like, surely she's going to get it. Like, there's a couple of scenes where like there's an old cleaner at the police station, and for a second I was like, is that the old woman? And I'm like I forget these things because I forget the details, but you're like, oh, that could have been a scene. where
It
the
really
cop
could have.
discovers
Yeah.
the cop discovers that the cleaner is wearing his gold watch and is like,
There's
maybe
a
that was
plot.
there's a plot, there's
Yeah.
something, there's a complication, there's, you know, but yeah, it's really interesting. But I never thought I would say this.
Frankenheimer, yeah, he
I never,
famously said, I want to make pictures that one sees, because
yeah,
he had just made The Impossible Object and it didn't do well, it bombed. And he said, there's a great public out there and you have to reach them, otherwise you're not in the movie business. So this is like a money job, pretty much, for Frankenheimer. But the thing that appealed is the exact same thing that appeals to us, which is I like the idea of Hackman not speaking a word of French, being in France. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Just watching a really stupid blowhard like try and navigate his way in the
Yes.
world is fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
And actually, I never thought I'd say this, but like, The French Connection 2 is more rewatchable than Serpico.
I agree. Yeah. Serpico, it kind of grates on you a little bit. You're like, another speech. Yeah, we know it's tough, which is, I think, the point that Burns was making. You're like,
Yeah,
enough.
it's hard. Like, it is a slog. But like, The
Yeah.
French Connection 2 is, you know, I don't want to sound sacrilegious because, like, you know, Friedkin obviously passed and he made this great movie and he didn't want anything to do with it. And I feel like all of Friedkin's like huge movies, you know, you got Borman doing The Exorcist 2, you got Frankenheimer doing this. It's like in his career, there are people who took some of his, you know, monumental movies and made sequels that are different and or lesser. But I can't.
They're worth watching though. Mm-hmm.
I can't. Yeah, there's something there. And it's like
There
whether
is.
they took some of the source of what Friedkin had at the time and applied it, I think, you know, to it, I think that it completely works. And Friedkin had a really kind of globe-trotting sense of the world in some of those early movies as well, which you kind of forget. You sort of remember the big seminal set pieces that are in like New York or whatever, in a city that is familiar to you, but they were globe-trotty. And I just, yeah. There's definitely moments that in a contemporary movie you could see them going down these other avenues, but it's not that. He's just like, let's just relish this. And so I imagine, I don't know how they shot so much of this, but it feels so natural and verite and like
It was Claude Renoir, who is the son of Pierre Renoir, grandson of Pierre Auguste Renoir, and so he shot like Barbarella. And he also shot Spy Who Loved Me. So you had somebody French shooting France. And also one thing that I think works good in this one is the music by Don Ellis is such a strong element of the first one, and they brought him back. So I think visually and the sound, that all helps because, otherwise it is a totally different movie. Yeah.
Yeah. But aesthetically, I think they do such a great job when you start out with the April Fool's Day and the fish, and it does look so different. It takes a while, but then as soon as Popeye just kind of like goes, I'm not staying in this office.
Yes.
And he starts leaving and getting time. It's like, it is just Gene Hackman walking through real people in Marseille in 1974 or wherever they shot it, right? It's just him walking around and it's great. It's really excellent. And like those moments, like just of like purely like, am I interested in what's happening on the screen? You're like, yeah. And it's so funny, like also watching Gene Hackman do push-ups.
I agree.
To get stronger and a chin up. It's like, it's so nice because it's not like, he's not doing 100. He can barely move. And when he's running in like long pants. He's not like in a sweatsuit suit or something like that. It's got something about it. In the pre-Rocky era, he didn't realize that all he needed was a tracksuit and he could have gone for a run in a tracksuit, but he's running in jeans and a leather jacket, holding his hat in his hand. It's great.
Yeah. Ebert, talking about the movie, admitted like he didn't think that they did justice to Popeye Doyle, but he said if they didn't do justice to him, they at least did it to the genre. And he said this is better than many of the cop movies that followed French Connection. So he really had an issue, I think, with the drug withdrawal. Like it was enough, but he said, you know, the rest of it for a cop movie works. Yeah.
Yeah. The drug withdrawal, like, cause they really go to town.
Kind of grinds it to a halt.
he's there for 2 weeks of them torturing him. He's honest about it because he's so addicted. And then they have to, you know, that's sort of surgery scene of them emptying his stomach and then tying him down so that he can do it, and then watching him sort of slowly build his way back to kind of it all completely being out of his system. You know, it's like, it feels like weeks in the middle of this thing. And in true kind of 70s movie thing, they're waiting on shipments that take weeks to get to Marseille before they can do anything with it. So it kind of is okay. The pause makes sense. They don't have to do any time jumps. But you are like literally grinding through someone's worst parts of their entire life in real time nearly for that whole time. And it does, that is a suck in the movie, but it's also great because it, you know, it's just another thing. If you take away Popeye's language, you take away his innate ability to like navigate a specific situation, and take away his ability to sort of be able to catch people in a lie, and then you take away his power, his physical presence, his domination, like of other people, because he's such a scary unit Hackman, especially his voice. You take all that away, you got to take him to nothing. Mm-hmm. And that movie, like, whether it works, I'm okay that it doesn't completely work. I'm more like, I can see exactly all the choices they made sense to the story that they were trying to tell. And so for me, it works. Yeah. And it doesn't work as well as French Connection, but I kind of do love Hackman talking to himself for hours.
Yeah. Yeah, you would hang out with him. Yeah. He's not an aspirational character, but he's an interesting one. Yes.
Like, if you wanted to get liver poisoning for, like, trying to go drink for drink with him, sure. Like,
he's like your uncle, or like everybody has a neighbor like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, let's have another shot. And I feel like going, Popeye, chill. We've had 13 shots. I'm going to die. Yeah. But you know, sweet French guy singing songs with him on the street, you know, that kind of thing.
Everybody wins. Yeah.
Everybody wins. Everybody wins.
I think this was a really good idea. I loved being able to talk about these filmmakers with you. Blake, you're going to have to think of more ideas and come back.
I also want to thank everyone for listening, especially my patrons who support the show and help fund my research, equipment, film rentals, RSS fees, and more for as little as $1 per month at the Film Intuition Patreon, which is the home base for the show. Other ways you can support the podcast are by sharing, reviewing, and subscribing to Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts, and also checking out the cool merch store hosted and created by our talented logo designer, Kate Gabrielle. You can find the merchandise store, including shirts, tote bags, stickers, and more by visiting filmintuition.com and clicking on the shop link. The show's theme music is solo acoustic guitar by Jason Shaw and is available in the free music archive. Well, until next time, please take care and happy movie watching. This is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and Film Intuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen.